Well, this is definitely a trophy winning car. And under here, we have this beast.
I traded a Z28 that I had, a 92 454 SS truck that was mint, a 12-bolt pause rear end, and some money. She liked that car because it kind of reminded her of the car I had when we was dating. Every time I come in to pick her up, she'd say, "Get that old leaking Ford off my driveway." You couldn't get an automatic in a Z28.
It's got a fold down seat, and you said you've never seen another one of these. We've got plenty of pictures there. We'll show you the restoration of the car. You will not believe what this car once looked like. Larry also owns this beautiful 1965 Corvette.
Very rare about this car is power window. This car wasn't originally a Muley car. Probably gallons per mile.
Hey gang, we're out here. It's the middle of January. It is cold. It is currently 22 degrees. There's flurries. It has been a miserable week since Martin Luther King Day on Monday. But we want to take you back in time to early November, where we visited with Larry and his classic cars. And Larry, I want to give you a special shout out and say thank you for doing this with me. Sorry it took so long to do the video, but I hope it was worth the wait. Now let's head off and visit with Larry and his classic cars and enjoy some warmer weather too. All right, so what we have here is a Z28 Rally Sport. That was a double combination feature, would you call that, Larry? A double option, I guess, would be the best way to say that. So you had the Z28 package and the Rally Sport package.
The Rally Sport package was nothing but a cosmetic, basically, package. It included the hideaway headlights. Tail panels got backup lights in the lower valance, and the tail lights are solid red. They don't have the backup light built into the tail light.
And you were saying with this package, the tail lights were solid red with the backup lights at the bottom.
The backup lights are in the valance versus being up here in the middle of the tail light.
And under here, we have this beast, this 302, and it sounds and looks excellent, like you could maybe almost eat off of this. This is beautiful. So this engine was restored along with the car?
It was.
How many miles do you have on the car, do you think, at this point?
69,000, but I have no clue if that's right or not. I couldn't tell you. And it's got vintage air on it, too.
Well, that's important up in middle Tennessee.
Nice on a hot day.
Sure does. Absolutely. What else was unique about the Rally Sport package on these things? Anything in particular?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. And what did the Z28 package get you on these things?
The Z28 package come with a 302, 4-speed Muncie, 12-bolt pause, and front disc brakes, and quick ratio steering.
Excellent. And we can see the Hurst 4-speed shifter right in here with the Rally Sport gauge. Now, you were telling me before that some of these came with the Rally gauges. And
some came with the gauges and some did not. You had to order it special.
Okay. What if you got the automatic? What would be different?
You couldn't get an automatic in a Z28.
You couldn't.
No.
Okay.
Not even an option.
Well, show us that special feature about your back seat that makes this one unique from the others. It's got a fold-down seat, and you said you've never seen another one of these?
I've never seen another one with it, but they did make, several, but I'm not sure of the number on them.
Yeah, which is kind of...
I heard 1,000, but I don't know. Don't know for sure.
Kind of interesting because it still has the back panel, which of course keeps the noise and the dust and the dirt down, but not like today's modern cars where you kind of have that seat or kick-through panel there that you can put extra long stuff in.
That's the only bad thing, you can't access the trunk.
All right, so on this car we have an orange interior. Do you know anything about production numbers on orange interiors?
I do not.
Because that's unusual to have matching interior. And nowadays they do a lot of that with the interior matching the outside.
Actually put in there, I think, when they restored the car.
Okay. Yeah, and we've got plenty of pictures there. We'll show you the restoration of the car. You will not believe what this car once looked like. This thing looks like it's off the showroom floor right now, but those pictures will tell you otherwise. Before Larry's friend purchased this car at a car show in Pigeon Forge in the early 2000s, you can see it had lived a very rough life in Georgia. From extensive body rust and decay and neglect, it then went on from the previous owner to get an extensive restoration, which included a lot of metal replacement in the back half of the car, as well as in the trunk area. This included working those new metal panels on the back half of the car into the C-pillars on both sides of the car to help blend it all together. Extensive work was also done to restore the firewall, the braking components, the chassis, the braking system, and a refreshed DZ302 engine was installed into the engine bay. And with the engine installed, the front end was put back together ready for the paint job. And then it was time to add primer to the car to get it ready for its final paint job. As you can see here, we have several different angles of the work that was done to prepare the car for its final paint job. After primering the car, then the hard parts were done. Door jambs, as well as the areas inside the trunk and hood and other parts that you can't see underneath, followed by the stripes both front and back, as well as the spoiler. Final steps included adding several layers of orange paint to give it that overall look, as well as clear coat to give you the final result that you see here. Man, does this car look great, both inside and out. So when did you purchase this car?
I think I've had it since 2004.
Okay, and you said you made a deal to get this particular car?
Yeah, I traded a Z28 that I had. It was a blue car, white stripes. 92 454 SS truck that was mint. A 12-bolt pause rear end and some money.
So you bought it in 2004. How did you come across the car? How'd you know it was available?
A friend of mine had it.
Okay.
I was actually with him when he bought it in Pigeon Forge at the Rod Run.
Okay. Okay.
And he kind of knew that's the car that I liked, but he bought it.
All right.
He had it maybe a year. His health started deteriorating, so me and him made a trade to get that car.
Well, that was good. That was awfully nice of you to be able to do that, and you got a memory back at the same time, right? You got some nostalgia for yourself, and you helped him out too. Well, that's awesome. All right, so you were telling me before that this car behind us here, this beautiful orange Z28, was featured in a television show about 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah, it was actually in 2010.
Okay. And what television show was that back then?
It was Spike TV, Muscle Car Flashback.
Brand loyalty can be something of a religion, but sometimes love can make you do crazy things. Larry White was a true blue Ford man until a pretty little lady caught his eye.
When we first started dating, I had a 1970 Ford Mach 1.
This is the car very similar to that he started dating his wife in back in the day. So tell us about the history. Is that when you fell in love with the cars? Was it around that same time that you were dating your wife, or when did you fall in love with these cars?
Well, I had a Mach 1 when we was dating, and her dad was a diehard Chevrolet person. Every time I come in to pick her up, he'd say, "Get that old leaking Ford off my drive."
Can't believe you're dating a Ford guy, right?
Yeah. So after that, I found a Z28 very similar to this, but orange with white stripes. And a friend of mine up the street had it for sale. And I took it around, let him look at it. I said, "What do you think about it?" He said, "Oh, at least it's a Chevrolet."
There you go, yeah. There you go.
At least it's a Chevrolet. So I bought that car from a friend of mine and sold the Mach 1. And me and her dated in that car.
Okay.
Well, it kept me broke off.
Sure. Yeah, I know. And you said the reason why you got this car is your wife encouraged you to get it?
Yeah, she liked that car because it kind of reminded her of the car I had when we was dating.
I actually learned how to drive a stick shift in that car. And we used to fight over who was going to drive.
Every time we get in this car, it's like we're going back in time.
It's like we're out on a date again.
I can understand where your wife would be sentimental for that. What are your future plans with it? Have you got anything in particular you want to do with it, or just keep it the way it is?
Probably I'm going to convert the headlights over to electric, open and close. It works so much better. The vacuum are so temperamental. They'll get stuck sometimes. You have to help them open, help them close.
And that's probably when you need to use them, right?
Yeah.
At nighttime.
So. Kind of aggravating. Yeah.
So have you ever taken it out other than just cruising? You've gone any long trips with it?
No long trips. The farthest is Ardmore, Alabama.
Okay, was that a car show too?
Yes, it's a big car show there. They usually have it in August.
Nice.
And there's usually 1,500 cars. I got a trophy down there at that one too.
Well, this is definitely a trophy-winning car. You can tell that by how beautiful it is and what condition it's in. We're going to get a chance to hear this beast start up in just a little bit. With that, we were off for a ride in Larry's classic 1969 Z28 Rally Sport. Ever have anybody try to race you?
Oh yeah. Most of these little import cars are probably twice as fast as this.
They do have acceleration on their side, that's for sure.
And weight.
True. Although this is probably a relatively light car, wouldn't you think? For the day?
Well, I mean, for the day, not today. Today's standards. Pretty heavy car.
My father lived up north, so I went to work for him that summer. And one of the guys he was working with was a young kid, probably in his 20s. I mean, I'm 16. He had a 69 Camaro that hit in the back end, but he was still driving it. I never had to lunch one day. We had a lot of fun in that car. I wanted to get one after that. I never did. Does that allow you to like crank them in and out, or you slide them in? car lovers, if you're enjoying today's video, please put a like on it, share it on your social media sites, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow and to produce future content. Now back to the show. Well, that was a lot of fun riding with Larry in his 1969 Camaro. We hope you enjoyed that, but wait, that's not all, because we get a 2-for-1 special today, because Larry also owns this beautiful 1965 4-speed Corvette Stingray. We saw this, if you go back and watch my video from Cars and Coffee in Nashville in August, the title is Cool Cars, Hot Coffee. This car is featured in there, and I met Larry that day, and he was kind enough to let me come over today to do a neighborhood classic car video with him about his 2 classic cars. So tell me about this Corvette. How did you come across this beauty?
I bought this car at they had a car show at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and I'd seen this car online, and the guy told me he was bringing it to sale down there, and that's where I've seen that car, and I bought it down there.
And when was that?
I think that was in '05.
Okay, so you've had both of these cars about the same length of time then.
I've had them both about the same length, yeah.
And what condition was it in? Have you done any work to this particular one?
I've done a lot of little fixing stuff that wasn't working, but cosmetic wise, it's pretty much like I got it. It's got the original seat covers in it, the original door panels in it. I put a headliner in it, which needs about another one, but dash pads and stuff is original. They've been patched through the years, but they're original dash pads. It's got the original radio in it.
Does that radio work?
It does work. It does work.
I can't tell from here. Is that AM, FM, or just AM?
AM, FM radio, yes.
That's very rare for 1965.
Well, what's very rare about this car is power windows. You don't hardly ever see these with power windows.
Yep, there's the buttons right there.
It doesn't have power steering or brakes, but it's got power windows. Back in '65, people was afraid to put power or anything on the motor. They didn't want to drag it down.
That's true. Yeah, well, that's what you were worried about in '65 was the motor anyway. You wanted all the power there.
That's what I'm saying. And it's the best that we can tell, this car wasn't originally a fuelie car. Don't have the documentation that goes with it, but
what would make it a fuelie car?
When you pop the hood, well, a couple of things. The tachometer, red line on it is 6,500, and right here on the rad core, it's got a hole right there, and that hole is for the intake that went into your plenum for your fuel injection.
Okay, and this has been converted over to a carburetor.
A lot of these things went away back in the day because nobody knew how to work on the fuel injection unit. Yeah, they were mechanical.
Yeah, I read about that.
Very few people knew how to work on them, even the dealers.
Is that anything you thought about putting back on the car?
It's about a 15 grand to put it back on there.
Yeah, probably going to pass on that one, right?
Well, the thing about it is, it would bring more money to put an LS motor in there than to try to put the mechanical fuel injection that nobody knows how to work on.
How available is that kind of mechanical fuel injection?
You can buy it. I mean, yeah, if you got 15 grand, you can go buy one tomorrow.
Yeah. But then you got all that headache of working on it or putting it in.
Then nobody knows how to work on it. But put an LS motor in here, and it's worth as much or more, and it's more desirable than if it had the original fuel injection on it.
You like LS motors?
Yes, I do.
So have you thought about doing that?
I have thought about it. I don't know whether I ever do it or not, but I have thought about it, yeah.
Okay. There you go. You got the 4-speed right there. There's that vertical radio.
Yeah, I think this is the only GM car they ever made with a vertical radio like that.
It's a beautiful console and dash system. Got a 12-bolt in it too?
You know what? It's the factory. It's an independent rear end. They don't call them 12 bolts as such. It's a totally different independent rear suspension.
Because of it kind of being a sports car kind of
Yeah,
thing?
these were 63 was the first year for independent rear suspension.
Okay.
Before that, it was straight axles.
Did you tell me back at the car show that the engine, this is a replacement engine?
It's a 327, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a 68 model.
Okay. Well, that's still a high performance kind of model, right?
Yeah.
What did it come with originally? Do you know?
327.
Another 327. Okay.
Now this was the last year. 65 is sort of a unique year for Corvettes. It's the first year for 4-wheel disc brakes. It's the last year for fuel injection, and it's the first year for big block. They put a 396 in some of these.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what the numbers are on them, but it's probably about 1,000.
That's not many.
No,
it's not many at all. So,
friend of mine has one.
nice friend. So, is there anything particular about this? I know you gave me some specs on the Z28 that were unique to it. Is there anything unique about this particular options on this one besides the windows and stuff? Just
that it was possibly, like I say, I don't have the iron core documentation about the fuel injection, but that makes one of 771, if that's true. Again, it was an expensive option that people, it didn't go over well because people didn't know how to work on them.
So when did they first do the fuelies? You said it was 63?
No, they started that back in the 50s.
Yeah.
Like 57, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was the first year for is Rochester mechanical fuel injection. Because you could get nearly the same horsepower of a carburetor.
Right, and then a little more reliability
people,
for them,
again, know how to work on them.
Exactly, yeah. And I imagine back then it must have been pretty expensive to find someone who could work on them, right?
I'm guessing it would be.
Now, when you had these cars, they weren't plastics back then, right?
No.
No? So
that first one I bought when we was dating, I gave $1,300.
Yep.
Those cars new was like $3,500.
And that was a lot of money back then. Yeah. So now, did you go through a period like most people where these cars went out of style and you got the other things and you came back to them when they became classics, or have you always had one?
I've had a Corvette. Me and her went to prom in a '69 Corvette car, and I have had a Corvette continuously since then.
Wow.
At some point, or some way, some fashion.
Now, was that your car?
With
the '69 Corvette?
Yes.
Okay. So how long did you keep that one?
Not real long.
Did you trade up for like a newer Corvette at that time, or?
Let's see. I think I got an '81, and I had that car about 12 years. It was an '81 red 4-speed car. After my '81, I bought a '96 LT4 6-speed red. And Cheryl talked me into it. She goes, "You don't need a 1-to-C5." She goes, "No, that's too much." So I got a C4 '96 model. Never was happy with that car. I ended up buying a 2000 model red with black inside 6-speed.
What'd you think of the C5? Now, of all the ones that you've had, which one do you like the best?
Corvette-wise?
Mm-hmm.
I like the attention this one gets.
Right.
Of course, it doesn't ride as good as the new one. But
no, of course not.
I've got an '07 now, C51 6-speed car. I really like that car. It rides and drives good. You can go anywhere in it.
Sure.
I wouldn't want to go on a 300-mile trip in this car.
Yeah, I imagine the suspension on that one is a little bit rougher, right?
Yeah. The C6 and a 6-speed, it will get upper 20s, like 28 miles an hour.
That's very good.
Yeah.
That's very good. What do you think this one gets?
It's probably gallons per mile.
Well, gallons per mile, gallons of smiles, right? I mean, smiles per mile, whatever.
I don't know. It probably gets 8, maybe 10. Never have checked it.
And with that, it was time for us to head out again with Larry, this time in his 1965 Corvette Stingray. Not every day you get to ride in a 65 Corvette. This is a real treat. Which one do you like better, Larry? Depends on the day.
Yeah.
Decisions, right? Camaro or Corvette? Answer to that is yes.
Well, I don't worry too much about taking this one to the car shows and stuff. I mean, cruise has and stuff, the paint is, it ain't show road paint on it. So
Well, you don't have to worry
I don't
about
have
it.
to worry about it.
Right.
Somebody nicking it or scratching it or something. The Camaro, I worry more about somebody scratching it or something.
Now, this one's a beauty too. What transmission is this one got in it?
It's a Muncie. It's an M20. That was one of the very first things I done to is had the transmission removed.
How's your view out that back window? It's a different kind of back window.
Yeah, it's different, but it's a pretty good view.
Seems like the way it rounds there, you don't really have any pillar
you don't have a lot
blindness.
of blind spots.
Yeah.
Because it kind of circles around.
But this thing gets lots of looks as you're going down the road. You ever put these things on the dynos at some of the car shows? No.
I'm not really interested in all that. I might be disappointed.
I don't know. It sounds powerful.
When I first got it, it didn't. I kind of run this guy down the road, and he had a 307 Camaro. I said, and he kept up with me. I said, "Oh my goodness, this is terrible."
This doesn't sound like a stock 327. It sounds like you said with the cam and everything beat up.
Yeah, well, once I put the cam in it, it brought the motor to life. Cam it had two lobes were almost slick, so we had very little lift on two of the cylinders. So.
So, what have you currently got in your collection besides these two beauties right here?
I've got 87 Monte Carlo Aero Coupe T-top car, 200 built in 87, and I've got that 07 C51 Corvette.
Now, in that Monte Carlo, what kind of engine did that come in?
It come with a 305, kind of a pitiful.
Yeah, but that's what they offered back then, right? Unless you had
But
the
it's
bigger
got a
trucks.
350 in it with a $700 transmission. It come with a 305 with a $200 electric transmission.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Well, maybe we'll see you out at the car show with that one sometime, and we can get a short clip of that.
Yeah, I go out there occasionally in it.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and hit the notification bell. I want to say a special thank you to Larry and his wife Cheryl for sharing their story and their 2 neighborhood classic cars. Click here to see more from me, Earl with an E.